The subject, the title, Increasing the Psychological Resilience of Society in Times of Crisis, I think it's really crucial issue for today. We are in war, maybe not in such a hot form like our dear Ukrainian friends are, but we are in war. We are in hybrid war where disinformations and emotions are very useful sort of weapon used against our societies, and then it's quite obvious that the resilience, psychological resilience, is crucial. In this post-factual time where facts are not important so much like it used to be, and where, as one of the Czech psychiatrists said, we inherited from dinosaurs two main emotions, fear and fury, and then of course the skillful manipulators know how to use those two emotions, how to manipulate people, how to scare them, and then to make them furious about somebody, and just to actually work with their emotions, then they are winning elections. And I believe that this is not about only how we can and how we should help our Ukrainian friends who are in the war now and who will be desperately in need of psychological support and psychiatrical support after the war or even now. It's also about us, about our society. You know, once you are in the plane, you hear, usually before you take off, the instruction that if there is a low pressure of the oxygen in the cabin, you should use the mask first for you and then for your child. Otherwise, you are death boss. So we have to also think about our society, how to make them strong and resilient, how to prepare it for the situations which are like now in the crisis or post-crisis, how we can be useful for our partners, but also for us. So let's start with the questions. I have one, actually they are not my questions, I have to honestly just, confess. That was prepared by organizers because I am not probably the best expert in psychology. So the questions, two questions for all of you. What does psychological resilience mean in today's context of overlapping crises such as war, displacement, and social polarization? How can we begin to build it at scale beyond the clinical setting? And the second question, what role should governments, health systems, and civil society each play in making mental health support more accessible and sustainable in times of prolonged crisis? Where do you see the biggest gaps? So who wants to start? Maybe I'm old-fashioned, so maybe ladies? Okay, ladies first. Okay.
Yes, you know, ladies, you can throw them first under the bus. But the topic is good, resilience. I was thinking about those questions. They were very kindly provided by the organizers beforehand. And, you know, as psychologists, we learn what resilience is and so forth. But I'm in my former life, like how a lot of Ukrainians say, before the 22 and sometimes for many before 2014, where the war started. I was in very much big business, oil, gas, construction, etc., working with government, and not a psychologist point of view. And from that point of view, resilience is kind of about flexibility, right? Because it's, are you able to adapt in extreme situations? How fast, how well, how much can you change without breaking? And if we're talking about resilience in mental health in places like Ukraine right now, with the extreme war, with the extreme duration of this stress, where it doesn't end after weeks, months, years, etc. And people affected extremely in front lines, but they're also affected quite significantly, maybe even extremely in the civilian part. You have to be really flexible. So this is something that also I believe really is lacking in many approaches of policies both inside Ukraine and outside. I wouldn't say that it's completely lacking. There's obviously a lot done. Like, I came here also to kind of speak a little bit for Glade, the big mental health rehabilitation center in Ukraine, in Kiev. And their whole motto is about using everything, all methodologies, up to date, scientific, proven, but also innovative. Every day, because they have a flow of people coming from front lines. Part of their patients are veterans, but majority of the patients right now are people who are just coming from front lines for about 3 weeks to get quick, getting to themselves, stabilization, and then they have to come back and fight again. And they use everything, and that is flexibility. And where is the flexibility usually difficult from both my business background and my psychologist background experience? Usually it's the very conservative institutions, such as governments, established scientific organizations, or maybe medical institutions, which is not to say that governments or psychiatrists, mental health, etc., scientific institutions are bad. No. Their rigidity is important because they have to provide stability, right? They have to provide standards, they have to provide regulations. But in the time of crisis, their rigidity, their conservatism can be very counterproductive. And they need to learn from flexibility. And I think Ukraine knows quite a lot about it. I would say for me, flexibility would be the key word for this question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Oksana. And then Nataliia, do you want to continue?
I just want to add that maybe we need in this flexibility to build sustainable system for next years, because we see ongoing trauma and we will need support for next decades, and to combine all those systems, social, medical, and yours, not in a fighting way, but to strengthen each other, because NGOs are more flexible, government is more stable, and we need to build somehow this new system to resist and survive.
Thank you. Who's next? Maybe you?
It's hard something to add, but when I think about resilience, the first issue is to cope with emotion, with strong emotion in different situations, not to avoid emotion, not to suppress, but cope and manage the emotion is the first step. Second step for me is to be in network, to be in friends, to be in people, to have contact with people. Because if I know that I have people to contact, which I have, it helped me to be more strong. And third thing, very important for me, is to have some hope, some values, important values. What is, why I'm alive, what is important for myself, for family, for the state, for the Europe, for instance. And these values also increase resilience. These three things, I think, are more important. And when we think about therapy, we must all time think about these three, how to help people to cope with emotion, because in difficult, in worst situations, there are strong emotion. And I read one article from your country now about refugees from Ukraine, and people are inside refugees from other part of Ukraine. And the most important factor in this article was if they deny emotion, they increase psychological problems. Maybe it's all what I've at start.
Okay, thank you. Let's continue with Professor Horáček.
Yes, in my view, resilience should be considered within the evolutionary and neurobiological theory, which says that the current form of resilience developed, let's say, 100 to 50,000 years before present, when people, our ancestors, faced the very aversive environment connected with permanent change of climate, and other adversities. And the current form, the form of resilience, which helps us to overcome the aversive environment, stems in three tenets, in three points. First is affiliation to other people, because when we are together, when we are members of group, we are stronger than when we are alone, first. Second, tenet of resilience is flexibility. So the aversive situations are typically new, and we have to find new solutions how to deal with them. So flexibility, the flexibility of mind. So to skip out of rigid solving, which were effective before, but now the situation is new, so we have to find new ways. And third tenet is meaning. The aversive situation needs to have some meaning for me. If we keep the meaning, we understand in depth what's going on. So it's much more better to overcome it. When these three principles collapse, the trauma could occur. Trauma is term which is now definitely inflated. Everything is trauma, and from the psychiatric point of view, this is definitely not very good, because if I identify with the traumatized role, I am in the passive role. We need to put the people to the active role. So I think that the term trauma should be dedicated only for situations which are really unbearable for the individual.
Okay, so thanks a lot. Edem, last but not least.
Last but not least, thank you very much, first of all, to being here. I'm very glad to be here. For public servants, it's a very big motivation when we meet somebody from other countries in our city, in Kiev, and as well when we travel somewhere abroad, because we understand that Ukraine is still here. Everybody still remember about us, and our voice is important. So thank you very much. And personally, I'm very grateful for Czech Republic to being a leader in European Union for pushing the mental health issue. Just believe me, in each country we're visiting a lot of right now, everybody knows that Czech Republic is leading and pushing this. And for us, it's very important because in Ukraine, we have very difficult situation with public health. We can have a lot of jokes that our airport is closed right now, so when you have troubles, you can just drive to EU. So while you're driving 15 hours a car, you'll think a lot of things, and maybe your mental health will be better, but it's just a joke. Just believe me, you cannot just solve it right now. And of course, I want to thank Czech Republic for supporting our country. You have a lot of Ukrainians, it's hundreds of thousands of people. They are here, you're treating them in your best hospitals. We have a lot of medical partnerships between our hospitals and your hospitals, and it is very valuable for us. We really appreciate it. If you have a comment, please.
It's nice of you there thanking us. We should thank you, first of all, and to your people for doing what you are doing.
Thank you. So about mental health. So when we speak about government and the Minister of Health, we know that we can do two things. We can make it accessible, and we can allocate enough resources. Because all other issues are managed by doctors, by hospitals, by NGOs, and also by such conferences, when experts can give some new ideas. So as a government, I think it was a big challenge for us, but we made it from the last year. We have psychiatric care starting from the primary healthcare facility. For example, everybody can ask a family doctor for help. And a lot of doctors, they made MH gap courses and they understand the basic things. And right now they can answer very basic questions, or they can redirect person to primary or secondary healthcare facility, or specialized for psychiatric care. And the last point is, of course, rehabilitation. When we speak about resources, I think in the healthcare it's never enough. You can place tons of money, but still it is not enough. In such countries, like Czech Republic and other European Union countries in Ukraine, we are very motivated to make this healthcare as much as it's possible to be accessible. We don't have insurance, for example, so we have to pay and place money from our state budget. It's taxpayers' money. It's like not classical insurance when you pay from your salary. You cannot feel it because everybody pays taxes, and we have a special National Health Service of Ukraine, and this service is placing money for hospitals. So we place billions of hryvnias right now, but still, of course, it is not enough. The main challenge for us to make it accessible in all cities, and Tomasz actually mentioned that, for example, even small villages, because when you have a hospital near the front line in a very small city, nobody is motivated for working there for the last 3 years. It is next to impossible. 24/7 you're waiting for missile attack, for drone attack. You have a lot of calls from your relatives. Everybody's asking every 10 minutes, how are you? Are you still alive? What are you doing? And sometimes you're really tired to reply the same things, but still you have these problems. So the biggest challenge for us was just to make it accessible in each city, in each village. And also when we speak about resilience, you cannot be ready. Nobody was ready for COVID, and believe me, nobody was ready for the full-scale invasion. Even if somebody will tell you that I was ready, it's not possible. You cannot be ready. And the basic things, you have to sleep well when you can, when you don't have alerts. You have to eat well. You have to love your loved ones. You have to support them. It is a basic rule. You have to do checkups. Like, just believe me, even when you visit a doctor, even if it is not about mental health, but normal doctor will understand that you have problems. So please, once in a year, just visit your doctor. It will help you, even if you are healthy. And you have to be prepared for any situation. So just be prepared. I know that there is no special courses to be prepared for such a problems. Just to be prepared, just try to feel yourself happy. When you have problems, just try to speak to your loved ones and your doctors. And as a government, just what can you do is to place a lot of resources, allocate everywhere you can, train your doctors to understand the new types of therapies. I know that actually Czech Republic is a leader in psychedelic therapies, and we have also a pilot project in one of our hospitals with ketamine therapy. You should invest when you don't have a full-scale invasion and you have free resources. Just invest in innovations, just invest in new therapies, just invest in innovative drugs, and you'll be prepared and you'll share this knowledge for others.
Thank you very much, Edem. It sounds quite simple, but the reality is much harder, of course. Okay, let's start with the questions for our panelists. I will start with Mr. Praško, Pavlov. The first question to you is, how do you assess the readiness of the mental health care system to respond to the psychological issues we observe today, and how would our system cope in the event of crisis?
It is hard to say this difficult question, because I can say that our system, health system, is not enough in Czech Republic. We have many needs, but really when we compare with Ukraine, it's much more better. And we are partly prepared. Some therapists work with Ukrainian people on Zoom, on Teams, and I train many therapists. They work not only from Czech, but also Latvia, Lithuania, and Poland. And they work with Ukrainian people, but there are mostly people from Ukrainian where are in these countries. And maybe we can make a better network from the people who are abroad. Many women are psychologists, on psychiatrists. I can also help, and the network can help, and the state can help us with this. Second thing, which I believe could help, is online therapies. Online therapies, not only face-to-face therapies, by for instance, online programs. Patient can can have some exercises and work with themselves, and their programs exist in the world, and also we have some programs for PTSD, for depression, for anxiety disorder, because in Ukraine, not only PTSD is most like flag of the, but most frequent is depression, and near the post-traumatic anxiety disorder as traumatic mourning. It's also very prevalent because people die somebody or killed from the family, and this program can be appropriately prepared for this. And what can state can help with it to help us to distribute this program, to translate it to Ukrainian, to prepare for Ukraine, and to train some people in Ukraine to these programs. Also work these online programs, not face-to-face, but working with exercises and with feedback of therapists. But that must be Ukrainian therapists, and we have some, and we can collect with people who are emigrate, but maybe it's the best people who are in Ukraine, because they're more better understanding the cases in the situation. Third thing, I think it is important to train people with low intensive care, because it is step care model, it is in Britain, and we also have in her system this step care, but not so other type than Britain have it, that also nurses can learn how to work. And it is important. Social workers, nurses can learn on first step, but it is very, half of patients, half of people can be treated by these nurses also in this level, and only people who are more injured or more difficult can go to next step to psychologist or psychiatrist. This step care, it can be helpful, but it must be organized by government, because it is, we can deliver, for instance, online programs, but to make the system in Ukraine needs some government help for it. And it can be helpful. That's why we are partly prepared. We have some ideas. Many Ukrainian partners have many ideas also. I spoke in Brussels with some of your colleagues also about ideas. But we must connect together and try to start to work, to plan it and to make the steps.
Okay, thank you. Next question is for you, Jiří. You lead cutting-edge research into brain and consciousness. How can new insights from neuroscience help shape more effective responses to trauma and long-term psychological stress at the social level?
It's a perfect question, thank you. To understand trauma or the psychological trauma, it's necessary to bear in mind that trauma differs from normal experience. Trauma is out of the range of normal negative events which we can have in our life, and it's outside. So by definition, trauma is dissociated from the rest of the mind, and it works like the center of gravity of our mind, and it's unable and it's not able to integrate it to the rest of our model of world in our mind. So that's the principle of trauma. So it's really traumatic center of gravity which spares the negative emotions and steals the normal emotions within our internal life. So the principle, the core principle how to treat the trauma, and also the reason why it is so difficult to treat PTSD is the necessity to put together to the rest or to integrate it to the rest of our mind. How to do it? By psychotherapy, but it's very long-lasting. It's very long-lasting because the trauma is dissociated. It's outside of the normal voluntary control. The standard psychotropics are also not very effective. We have SSRIs, antidepressants, but they do not work in almost half of the PTSD patients. So therefore, the psychedelic-assisted psychotherapy is so promising because it offers the very rapid tool how to reintegrate the traumatic event from the past to the current model of the world inside my mind. Yeah? There are several mechanisms which are responsible for this. For example, increased flexibility of mind, the increased plasticity of brain, etc. So psychedelic psychotherapy from the neurobiological point of view really represents very promising method. I'm very glad that I can now collaborate with Forest Glade, the veteran clinics near Kiev, when we already introduced the ketamine-assisted psychotherapy for Ukrainian veterans and active soldiers, active military personnel, and we plan to spread the knowledge and this treatment possibility to the other parts of Ukraine. So that's
Okay, let's skip you and start with, continue with Nataliia. Based on your work with traumatized patients in Ukraine, what psychological patterns or needs are most prevalent among civilians and healthcare professionals? How have these evolved since the beginning of the war?
In the beginning of the full-scale war, we worked more with stabilization and crisis interventions. Now it's time of severe disorders and ongoing supports, and healthcare providers have personal stories of the war. I also had such transition. I was a member of civilian family, but my husband went to serve, and now I'm the member of military family as well. So this is the weak part of health providers from one side, but from the other side we see more trust to Ukrainian providers from Ukrainians, as we are like united by the same traumatic experience. So I think that supporting health providers, we can support more people. And we already see people that have the need to help others after some hard circumstances, as you talked about trauma, to find new senses and meanings, developing peer-to-peer groups and different kind of self-support groups in the community with those people who are ready to be conductors. We see that it could help to cover communities, so we go every week to the community and to look for such people, and then we will provide trainings. And we were inspired by Czech Republic. I visited training to do so, and also we had interesting experiences. We do every year international congress in Khmelnytsky, supporting with our international partners who came personally to our not so big city, and we make it open for everyone. So this year even some of our clients provide workshops, and every year we see twice bigger amount of people creating those new connections and be part of something meaningful for the city, for the country. It could help. But we see increased level of self-help behavior of teenagers, psychosomatic disorders, eating disorders. We saw it after the first year of COVID, and it is the same situation now.
Thank you. Still, it looks like that we have a time under control, but let's move forward. Nataliia, based on your work with traumatized patients in Ukraine, this is what we did already. This is for Oksana now. You are deeply involved in community-based trauma support programs, including group ketamine-assisted therapy for veterans. What have been the key outcomes or insights from this work so far?
Okay, so I'm Heal Ukraine Trauma Director in Ukraine, and this is a United States-based United States NGO. So I'm kind of in this two worlds, right? On the one hand, I come from the international help that came to Ukraine with innovative solutions. On the other hand, I'm Ukrainian. I'm from Kiev, and I've been in Kiev all this time, including the siege in 22. So what Heal Ukraine Trauma did is it's a young organization. We basically got registered in 22 as a response to the invasion to Ukraine. And our founders were straight away looking what can be done to meet this enormous challenge. And at that time, we still were hoping that, you know, the war would be over, and maybe not months at that point, but a year or two, and certainly shorter. But how to meet this scale and the depth and how to bring innovative things. One of our founders have suffered from PTSD herself most of her life, and she got into PTSD symptom-free after psychedelic-assisted therapy that she found in the United States. And she just, on her personal level, knew that this would be a solution. In Ukraine, there's most of the substances that you would consider for psychedelic-assisted is still in the forbidden list, which is something the government, I know, is working on, but, you know, also in very responsible way, because my organization is completely for medical, very responsible and very attentive way to approach psychedelic-assisted therapy, because without support, it is too powerful a tool to just go around. This is just as a position. But from the start, our organization was thinking, for scale, you need to approach it from group therapy, and you need to apply those new methods. And also, you need to have people who will do it, because this is not just letting, you know, ketamine be available. I mean, ketamine is available in Ukraine. Off-label, you could use it for psychotherapy, but how to use it responsibly, how to use it that it doesn't hurt people more. Who can be the recipients of that help? At what stage? You know, right now in Ukraine, basically, according to the procedures, and it's probably very correct, it is allowed really only for resistant depression. It probably would help also, you know, but I'm not even going to go there. But even for that, how do you apply it? Because it's not just giving the ketamine, it's the therapy around it. So our approach was to develop a training program, and we did it with the help of international specialists, so from all over the world. Our program runs for 14 weeks, online lectures, also live seminars, and lots of translated articles and so forth. It's like a full university unit for a semester. And the second part, experiential, where the therapists actually go through the therapy, through the path of the patient themselves. So it's a group. And so far we trained 3 groups. Our group size is 8 people, so now we have 24 therapists. So this is me telling you what we do. We got 24 therapists now trained in group ketamine-assisted psychotherapy. What did we found on our way of doing this? First, it is very difficult to do things first, to be the pioneers. And I know that Forrest Glade knows about it. I know that you know very well about it. And it is not difficult simply because somebody is going to be resistant. We actually get a lot of support from the state as well, from doctors, from associations. People are looking for solutions, but it's still new medicine. It's still unknown all over the world. Sometimes because I'm participating in all of our training, and we also provide supervision. After the 3rd stage is supervision for half a year, where people, experts from all over the world, provide guidance to our therapists. So I get people from Canada, from Australia, from hopefully from Czechia maybe very soon. And I'm a little bit skewed because so much knowledge is already known about ketamine-assisted therapy. Like for many people in Ukraine and for many people in Europe, I know it's like, oh, it's so novice. But in reality, there's already a lot of expertise in the world there. And if you put it together, and Ukraine is kind of unique in that sense, so many people are willing to come and share, so many people are willing to come and invest their time, energy. A lot of people are working with us pro bono. But at the same time, you know, it is a different area. Ukraine is something that is not like Australia, not like Canada. I mean, it is very difficult situation in Ukraine. And you need to kind of combine all that knowledge with the reality on the spot. So my main findings is new things are very difficult. Second thing is when the experts from around the world come to Ukraine, they're not just giving. Honestly, they're not just giving, they're taking. Each specialist who came to our supervision meetings, to our lectures, and talked to our therapist, I just see their eyes pop up every time they hear from the therapist. They explain what kind of patient they have that's been in the front lines for 3 years non-stop, or almost non-stop. They talk about the things that they apply. They say what other medicines have effect on these people. And this is knowledge that is, I guess, unique, because I see a lot of them come out and like, whoa, I found a lot now. And some of it is very difficult and traumatic, because there is so much trauma in Ukraine, but some of it is also hopeful, because in Ukraine, no, I'm not going to say even without outside expertise. There's a lot of outside expertise, and it's very valuable. But with that, our therapists come and find new solutions for Ukrainians that can be then can be shared and can be used in other conflict zones. So that will be it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You deserve really our appreciation and applause, because what you are doing, this is fascinating. And we all can learn from you, actually. So thanks a lot, Mr. Deputy Minister. From your perspective of government official, do you want to add something or comment it somehow?
Yeah, I just want to reflect to some sentences about courses, for example, not only for therapists, but for nurses, for public servants who deal with veterans. We're doing it, actually. The scale maybe is not enough. Right now we're doing it together with WHO team, but we're having an issue. For example, in many countries you can have a lot of individuals with mental health issues. But in our country, the case it's the whole Ukrainians as a nation, as one body, dealing with the mental health issues. And in some cases, I think even therapists and nurses and doctors are dealing with mental health issues. So you cannot scale it. It is next to impossible to cover everything. And another point that, for example, when you deal with mental health, and the therapy should continue, it's a systematic approach. You cannot solve something in 1 hour, in 1 day, in 1 week. So you have this, in best cases that I saw, it's like several weeks. You should deal with that. And it is very difficult to convince somebody without having a picture of a future. Very bright, very straightforward, and that's why international support is so important, because we have to convince somehow that we will survive. I have a personal example. I'm from Simferopol, and Crimea was occupied. And I took my brother to Kiev together with me, and I told him, you know, in 1 year or in 2, we will come back, you will see your friends, don't worry, everything will be fine. So more than 10 years he's living with me in Kiev. And he asking me, okay, I finished university already, so you promised me that we will come back one day. I'm in a tough situation. I cannot say something. So for our heroes, for our doctors, for our public servants, somehow you should visualize this bright future. That's why your support is very important. And you have to convince not only therapists and nurses, you have to convince the whole nation that we will solve it somehow, we will win, we will survive. And I think it is the biggest issue. And of course, you can have a lot from us. There are a lot of examples. Some of them are very good, some of them are not. We have difficult situations. But still, I think that everybody should visit our country, not only Lviv, but all different cities, even near the front line, in order to understand what's going on. And actually, we have different delegations from different countries, from EU. It is not very public and official, but some countries, they want to understand deeper how our mental health system is working, emergency, medical evacuations, what are we doing in our armed forces with medical doctors. And for those who really want to understand, we are open. We have such types of different locations, and it can take a week or 2 or 3, for example, for different doctors and public servants. For those who want to understand deeper, and for those who want to be prepared actually for different situations that can be in the nearest future. So from our side, we are open. And of course, we have a lot of different horizontal actually partnerships between our doctors and our hospitals. And I think it's very good because for our doctors, for the last several years, like more than 3 years, they are in the bubble. So you cannot go out from the country. It is not so easy. You cannot understand what's going on in different countries. And that's why these partnerships are very important because they can have some new energy, new ideas, new approaches. And I think it is the only way right now to have this picture of the future that we will win, we will survive, just international support and coordination. Thank you.
Thank you. Hard to imagine what you have to stand up, and I am fascinated by your positive approach. We have 1 minute time for interaction if anybody wants to comment, somebody else comments, or otherwise we can go to the second round of questions. Okay, so let's move. Jan, what prospects do you see for approaches that at the national or community level are able to integrate validated psychotherapeutic, I can't pronounce it, sorry, just psychotherapeutic methods while also ensuring access to care in situations such as forced displacements or war-related trauma? What is the best?
Everybody have already approached say they are the best, but for evidence is MRD, CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, schema therapy, maybe something from ACT are the best now about results in the world. I don't know how it works, but in Ukraine there are some schema therapists, they are trained in, and many CBT therapists. And maybe I see the possibility that will be good, this psychedelic therapy, because it looks very nice, but I have no these results like in CBT and ACT or schema therapy, MRD, there are most results, big research is about the efficacy of these approaches.
Okay, thank you very much. Jiří, honestly, I like mushrooms in all forms, and I would never imagine that I could ask questions about mushrooms, the psychiatrist, medical doctor. I would think that this is the subject for the chef or, for cooking, but no, let's take it seriously. Czechia is increasingly recognized for innovation in mental health, including the use of PAT. How do you see the role of these novel approaches in supporting psychological resilience in the years ahead?
Thanks. Good question. Me and my colleagues, we have studied psychedelics for almost 25 years. We began with the animal studies, then we continued with the studies on healthy volunteers, and now we are conducting several clinical trials in different fields of psychiatry, like PTSD, depression, existential distress in dying people, in people who suffered, young men who suffered from heart attack, so to prevent a second heart attack, and now we are opening the new study on dementia, on treatment of milder forms of dementia by psychedelics. So psychedelics are definitely extremely promising drugs, and I think that the new era of revived popularity in research of psychedelics really opens the window for more optimism. When I work with, I do the clinical psychiatry more than 30 years now, and during the past several years, I try to force my patients to be more optimistic. So our illnesses are not only treatable, but they are curable. And this is specifically true for anxiety disorders, for milder forms of depression, and for trauma-related conditions. So we should have bigger ambitions so to cure you, to cure the patients. But to do this, it's necessary to force the treatment by such drugs like ketamine, MDMA, or psilocybin, which really promote the beneficial changes in brain and in mind, which enable to have such bigger ambitions than before. So that's my view.
Okay, thank you, Professor. Nataliia, what lessons from your experience in Ukraine could be relevant for other countries hosting refugees or working with populations affected by large-scale trauma?
What we observed that the basic needs are important, but after this, as soon as possible, we encourage people to be active, because those people who stayed passive, they had severe disorders. It's our observation in different kinds. Someone go to the work, someone go to support groups, someone volunteer, and we need to create spaces where people can do this. And also, at the beginning, we did separate groups for refugees, for military wives, and then we started to combine all these experiences, native citizens with refugees, and it was easier for people to find meanings from these stories. And that was more supportive, as well as children from native region and those who came as refugees. It was easier for them to integrate. They find friends. They started to tell experiences and support each other, so not to divide too much. Of course, we need some kind of same experience groups, but also to make it more open, like creating these safe places as possible.
Thank you. Oksana, in your view, how can international partnerships help scale and professional trauma-informed care models in Ukraine and other post-conflict contexts? What types of support are most needed? What would you prefer? Or actually, what do you think is the most important?
Well, you know, I'm from a charitable foundation NGO, and I should say, you know, like, well, more involvement of sharing of expertise and education and sharing the tools, and that is all correctly. But I will still mention money. I mean, money does help quite a lot, which doesn't mean that money is the solution. I mean, you just don't dump money if you had lots, for instance, yeah, and you got like mental health in Ukraine solved. No way, sadly. Because it needs to be put into a system that works and makes that money work, basically, to provide the cure, the solutions for people in need. The biggest part is find professional teams, and there are already a lot of them in Ukraine, like Natalia's, like Alisova Polyana. They're state and private and NGO organizations that are very effective and already showed their effectiveness in Ukraine. And I would invite foreign participants, foreign involvement on all levels, government, private, etc., scientific, also not to come just as a sign of help or humanitarian or strategic, but really for your benefit as well, because this is an enormous wealth of information you can dip into, and you will learn it for your people, for your societies, not just for Ukrainians who are part of your societies as well right now, which we're very grateful for, but for all societies. This is a sad part. We have a lot of knowledge to share. It is the sad part that we have this trauma and we have to work with it, but there's also the benefits that I think the world should take part of. So please come with your expertise, also come doing research. There's a lot of area to do research, and research also needs money. So I will end with money again.
Fascinating, this positive approach and the optimism. I always see the glass half full, not half empty, so I understand your approach. Thanks a lot. Edem, any comments or just something?
I just want to comment. The question was what is the best therapy or one of the best? I'm not a doctor. I cannot say that I'm a doctor because I'm working in the Ministry of Health. I think doctors are working in hospitals and my education is not medical. But still, I think the best therapy is sustainable and affordable. I'll explain. In mental health issue, the same as in all other cases, the better you have diagnostics, the easier it's to treat. For example, right now we placed therapies on primary health care, and we are starting to understand the scale of the problem. So you have a lot of people with mental health issues. And the second point, you can invest in different types of therapy, but still, if you cover everything from the state budget, you have to be aware that in some cases you will have to place enough resources to make it sustainable and continuable, and that politically it will stay for the last 5 years, 10 years. It should be supported by NGOs. It should be supported by different political, stakeholders, by different partners. Because if you implement something, and in the next year you will not have enough resources and not enough political support, it is worse for these people and for these patients. So I think this strategic thinking, it is very important. When you live in democracy, it's very important. It is very difficult to have something for the 5 years when you're living in democracy. And I think you have worked with a lot of different stakeholders in order to make it for a long period of time. And this one, I think, the main thing. And about what we can ask again, what we can share, I don't think, of course, the financial support is very valuable, but I don't think that money can solve everything. It is not working in that case. As Thomas mentioned, right now we have a lot of different programs from different stakeholders, different member states, but still it is very difficult to have all of them in one time. I think first of all, the main thing that it is experience and approach, how to work within the European Union, how to transform our healthcare system. I'm very proud that even during the big war, we're still transforming healthcare system in order to make it sustainable, in order to make it, I think the most challenging thing in EU integration is a healthcare and reform of the healthcare system, because in EU you have a lot of different regulations and we have to place them in our country. And in our country, after the Soviet Union, we have a lot of hospitals, believe me. Even right now we have destroyed and damaged more than 2,000 different buildings, but still we have a lot of. And of course, it is next to impossible to close a hospital. If you close a hospital, of course you're a politically dead man, but actually, according to our law, it's impossible in our constitution. So just you can imagine, in EU countries, for example, you have clusters, you have university clinics, and you invest a lot of resources in big hospitals in order to have the best results. In our case, we have a lot of different hospitals, and we only started our path to transform. From the last year, we have a pilot project in Lviv with a very big university hospital, but we only starting. And if you will help us how to continue this reform of the healthcare facility in order to integrate with EU very quickly, in order to save our best professionals in Ukraine, because we can compare, of course, the salaries in EU and in Ukraine, but still somehow we have to attract them to stay. We have to attract people to come back. And I think it is the first thing. After that, I think we have to implement the same approach in different hospitals which are working together in order for different people, if they switch. For example, we have a lot of Ukrainians here in Czech Republic, in Baltic countries, in Germany, whatever. And for example, if they started a therapy, even if they want to come back. For example, with their children to the Ukrainian university. We have to propose the same approach in our hospitals. You cannot start therapy here and continue in completely another way. So these guidelines should be integrated, and we should start yesterday, actually. And only the last thing after that, I think it is resources. So.
Okay. Thank you. So now we have a time for a short interaction, in case somebody wants to comment something or just add something.
I slightly start to understand more when you speak about the whole situation, because it's important. I all time have this idea of step care, because about half of these people have injuries, have post-traumatic or traumatic grief, but not needs very special approach. Nurses or maybe, when you look on step care, first is bibliotherapy. It is, the research showed that bibliotherapy helped about 20% of people. And we can look how bibliotherapy works. And there are many people that are only, they are important. Also, second step could be low intensity therapy with nurses, with social workers, with, for instance, 10, 12 sessions. And also in Britain, but this is other situation, the low threshold, low intensity helps half of the people. Half of the psychiatric have low intensity with nurses. Third step can be, for instance, online programs with e-therapist, because it's cheaper than therapist. Fourth step can be therapy, special therapy with psychiatrist or with specialists. For instance, this therapy with psychedelics or with MRD. And because when I look on this, about 44% of Ukrainian population is now injured. It's near the half. That's why you need many possibilities and many steps how to work. And not only this very special, because many needs, this soldier from war needs very special work with trauma, maybe different, because sometimes MRD don't work, psychedelic works, or trauma processing work. Because I know I treat several soldiers with post-traumatic. We must find, it was not the first his approach works. We must find approach which is the best for this person. It is very special care, because to divide who is not, but not everybody needs it. About 23%, if I read articles from your country, have anxiety disorders. It can be a lower step how to treat them, for my idea.
Okay. Obviously, there are no schablons we use for everybody, and we are individuals with different background, different psychology, different history. Professor, you want to add something?
I visit Ukraine on a regular basis. I was there as the member of a Czech governmental mission 3 years ago, and my greatest impression from there is the paradoxical situation. That on the one side, there are extremely well-trained health professionals within several medical disciplines like surgery, prosthetics, orthopedics, and of course psychiatry, dealing with trauma. So there are very talented and well-trained. That's the other side of the war, of these doctors. And I believe that very early after the war, the Ukrainian doctors will teach us specifically about prosthetics, trauma-related conditions in psychiatry, etc. So that's one side. On the other side, I met there dozens of foreign teams from EU, from North America and others who try to invent or to bring there some best golden solutions. So that psychotherapy, this psychotherapy, psychedelics, new antidepressants, community care, etc., etc., etc. So I wish you to find your own vein, the accessible and very, very simple and easy way, because it's not possible to take everything from others, and we have to keep in mind that nowhere in the world the healthcare system works properly. Nowhere in Europe, in some countries, specifically here, within some aspects, it's dead end. Yeah, so we are bringing there our experiences, but they are definitely not the best. So some simple, spared, accessible healthcare system with mental healthcare system. That's the solution, of course.
If we are not the best, we are among the best. I lived in many countries and worked, here in the Czech, so I can really compare it with my personal experiences. Like, I'm so glad and happy that we have such a high quality of mental care.
Yes, specifically, and this is true specifically in the accessibility. There are no waiting lists. Yeah? In Canada, North America, before you meet psychiatrist, it takes half a year for the first consultation. So it's very accessible. So accessible system, I think, is the solution.
Okay. So time is over, or do we have a chance for 5 minutes? Okay, let's go.
I just wanted to kind of also comment, like, because I hear about the levels, and sometimes it reminds me, like, and I'm not a military person, so I really don't know what I'm talking about, but how the military would say, like, tanks, aviation, so forth. I mean, Ukraine would love to have army like United States has army, and like NATO in Europe has an army. We didn't have that army. And we survived not because we had up to the, highest level army. We survived because of the people and their innovation, and because of all the help from all the world. But we have to do things like spiderweb missions, and suddenly it works better, at least at this point, than any great aviation would. And I think in mental health, some people still think we can continue just building the NATO standard mental health providers. I don't think we can, because it's physically impossible. Even if we really wanted to, we will not be able to train that many therapists that fast and treat that many severe veterans who you say it's very difficult to find approach to them, and we will have hundreds of thousands of them. So we will need to find spiderweb mission for mental health in Ukraine. And building the community of therapists is very important. I'm very grateful that MAPS did training in Ukraine now. We're doing training. I know you work in Forest Glade. And people who work with veterans, they say we need different methodologies. We need multi-modality approach. Not only psychedelic assisted therapy. There will be CBT, there will be EMDR, there will be all the best practices. And they will need to be, in this system, and it still has to be affordable and it has to be accessible. So we need to come up with some very, very innovative thing. So, thank you.
Thank you. No?
Yes, just a few words that I agree that the help should be accessible, and we also observe and learn from the people we have. So it gives me strength to see those people who came to me and said all those stories and continue to live. So. And they do their own communities, and we just need to support them with instruments, and from the level of community to specialized help. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you so much. Thank you all of you for sharing with us, with the audience, your experiences and your views and ideas. Well, I'm very glad and pleased that finally this subject really became very seriously taken. As I said in the beginning, we are in war, and we all are individuals, and Ukraine is a part of the Western Hemisphere, Western society, so you have different approaches to different issues than Russians, as I can say. I served there as the ambassador. So let's take it as a chance for us to make our society better, to learn from you. We are not only trying to be helpful, we are learning from you, and then it means that you are helping us. So help us to help you and stay connected. Thank you so much for everything you are doing, and thanks the organizers for doing such a great conference. It's important.
Děkujeme, dámy a pánové.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That was a debate moderated by Petr Kolář, who said that he usually appears as a panelist, but today he did very well as a moderator. Thank you very much. And his guests, Nataliia Pidkaliuk, Oksana Gryshchenko, Edem Adamanov, Jiří Horáček, and Jan Praško Pavlov. Thank you very much.